Chapter 24:13. They wanted to hang themselves. The old doctor looked at it carefully. Then he said, "This is caused by the juice of the willow leaf ant grass. Although it looks scary, it's not a big deal. I'll give you a prescription. Take some herbs and put them in the face washing water. In less than 10 days, they will be as good as new." A few servants were about to say according to the lines that Yun Chujo had taught them. Yun Chujo suddenly said, "Old miracle doctor, to tell you the truth, we deliberately got the juice on our faces. I didn't expect you to be so amazing. You actually found out the clues in such a short time. Your medical skills are really brilliant." The 6 servants were dumbfounded. What did she mean? Was there a change in the plan? Although the old doctor tried his best to restrain himself, he still showed a trace of pride on his face. He asked in puzzlement, "Little girl, why did you do this on purpose? The juice on your face is so itchy that it's unbearable. It's really torturous." Sigh. "Old miracle doctor, if there was any way I wouldn't have done this. Although they are servants, I can't bear to see them suffer like this. Woo-woo, come to think of it, I've really let them down." Yun Chujia's eyes turned red as she spoke. She actually started to sob. Those 6 servants had the expression of fucking dogs. They were shameless. You act again. You don't have the heart? Doesn't your conscience hurt when you say that? Of course, this little devil definitely doesn't have a conscience. The old physician saw that the servants' faces were distorted, and their bodies were trembling. He thought, TSK, they really have deep feelings for their master and servant. These servants are probably too touched. Yun Chujo twitched a few times before she continued, "Old miracle doctor, although the family scandal cannot be exposed, I believe in your character. I'll tell you the truth. This courtyard belongs to my deceased mother, and it's also my courtyard now. However, my aunt and cousin want to occupy this courtyard, and they have a powerful family. How can I defeat them? Therefore I thought of this method. I made my face full of rashes and lied to them that they might have contracted an infectious disease. In this way, they will keep a distance from me and won't have any designs on this courtyard." Hearing Yun Chujia's words, the old doctor said with emotion, "You are really a filial child. It's just that you are poisoned, not infected with an infectious disease. Old godly doctor, you must have a way to help us, right? You see that not only are your medical skills superb, but you are also kind-hearted. Please help us. If you don't help us, my servants, they are going to hang themselves in this yard to stop those people. Sabasobi, I really can't bear it." The 6 servants were so angry that they almost vomited blood. Shameless. How could there be such a shameless person in this world? Hang themselves? You're the one who wants to hang yourself. You're the one who wants to kill us, alright? The old physician saw that the 6 servants all had expressions of anger but did not dare to speak up. He was even more certain that what Yun Chujo said was true. These servants were really loyal servants. How rare. The old physician frowned and thought for a moment, then he said, "How about this? I see that some of your rashes have been scratched. The yellow water that comes out from the rashes is infectious. I will think about it and say it. I believe that they will not have any more designs on this place." Yun Chujo bowed deeply. "Old miracle doctor, not only did you help me save the courtyard, you also saved the lives of the 6 of them. You are really a miracle doctor who saves the suffering and saves the suffering." The 6 people also agreed with Yun Chujia's words, and the old physician was so flattered that his mouth was almost unable to close. "Old miracle doctor, this is just a small token for you to keep. It's not valuable, it's just a low-grade earth-grade spirit medicine," Yun Chujo said as she passed a wooden box to the old physician. The old physician saw that the wooden box was very simple and crude, so he did not pay too much attention to it. After he finished writing the prescription, he left the house. Chapter 24:14 Poison. After the old doctor left the courtyard, he heard Lu Shur shout, "Dr. Deng, did they get an infectious disease or something?" Lu Shur was afraid that the old doctor had something infectious on him, so she could only shout. The old doctor remembered what Yun Chujo said just now, and he couldn't help but feel a little disgusted with Lu Shur's behavior. He had planned to say it lightly, but now he said, "They are infected with the juice of the willow leaf ant grass, so they have a rash on their bodies. Normally those rashes are not contagious, but they have already scratched the rash. The yellow water inside is contagious, so it's better to isolate it. When Lu Shi heard the doctor's words, she could not help but take a few steps back. Dr. Deng, how long will it take to recover? It depends. At least 10 days or half a month. If the situation doesn't go well, a month is also possible, the doctor said indifferently. A certain Jiao, who was eavesdropping in the yard, couldn't help but curl her lips. This old man still knows how to play freely. Not bad. This guy had already decided when Yi Xinwan and her daughter would leave her and return to Xingtian Academy, so as to prevent the yard from being occupied. As for Xingtian Academy, Jinji was usually there to help record the content of the lessons, so they could just listen to it when they returned. This fellow was completely not worried that Xingtian Academy would not approve the holidays. Otherwise, wouldn't the three-eyed purple-tailed iron-clawed eagle's inner core be given away for nothing? Moreover, even if Yun Chuzhou wanted to go back to school, the people of Xingtian Academy would probably not let her go back even if they heard that she was in danger of infecting others. Lu Shi asked the old doctor about some other matters before paying the consultation fee and sending people to the pharmacy to get the medicine. Lu Shi turned around and went to the guest house where Yi Xinwan and her daughter were staying. She told Yun Chuzhou about what had happened. Yi Xinwan frowned. Is that doctor reliable? Could he be working with that little bitch to deceive us? Xinwan, don't worry about that. Dr. Deng is famous for his bad temper. It's impossible for that little bitch to bribe him, Lu Shi explained. Humph. It's really too easy for her. In that case, let's stay here. Yi Xinwan said unhappily. She originally thought that she could take the opportunity to teach that little bitch a lesson. She did not expect that she would be able to avoid it twice in a row. It was really detestable. Lu Shi smiled apologetically and said a few words. I've already sent people to follow Dr. Deng to get the medicine. Perhaps she will recover in a few days. When the time comes, just let her move out. Fan Sushua pouted at the side. Mother, since that little bitch is disrespectful to grandmother, why don't we do something to the medicine and make her face never recover? Yi Bingying's eyes flashed with joy. When she was chatting with Fan Sushua just now, she had mentioned that Yun Chujia's appearance was very beautiful, and Fan Sushua was indeed jealous. When Yi Xinwan heard Fan Sukshua's words, not only did she not reprimand her, she instead said, Sushua is right. We cannot be merciful towards such a little bitch. Let's see how she can be arrogant in the future after destroying her appearance. Lu Shi said in a troubled manner. But what if the old master finds out? That bitch is now quite popular with the old master. It's okay. I don't believe that grandfather would make things difficult for me over a bastard. The more Lu Shi said this, the more Yi Xinwan was determined to make a move. Back then, Yilan had suppressed her everywhere. Now she would let her daughter have a taste of being disfigured. After a while, a maid at the door said, Miss, I've left the medicinal soup at the door for you. Those maids were obviously afraid of being infected. After saying that, they ran away without a trace. Yun Chuzhou curled her lips and asked the servants to move the medicinal soup into the courtyard. Yun Chujia's eyes flickered, and she said to the 6 servants with a smile, How about we make a bet? The 6 servants were confused. This young miss was purely mentally ill. She would kick the shuttlecock at one moment and play a bet at the next. What kind of bet was this? Why didn't she quickly soak the medicinal soup? Her face and hands were itchy to death. Although the 6 of them kept cursing in their hearts, they didn't dare to show any impatience on their faces. They said respectfully, Young miss, what kind of bet do you want to make? Yun Chuzhou curled her lips. I bet that there is something dirty in this medicinal soup. As long as you use it to wash your faces, you will be disfigured tomorrow morning. Chapter 24:16 Human lives are like grass. What? Dirty things? Disfigured? The 6 servants were really shocked, but one of the old women still dared to say, Miss, this is Dr. Deng's prescription. How could there be dirty things? Of course there is no problem with the prescription, but what about the person who brewed the medicinal soup? TSK, I really feel sorry for you guys. Although your master originally wanted to harm me, they didn't care about your lives at all. All of you are abandoned. Yun Chuzhou said with her hands behind her back. She shook her head and said. The 6 servants looked at each other. They were still a little suspicious. If something was done in the medicinal soup, wouldn't it be too obvious? Was the person who drugged them not afraid of being blamed by the higher-ups? Yun Chujo was too lazy to explain to them. She said lazily, "I'm also too lazy to explain to you. Well, just see the results tomorrow morning. Of course, if you insist on washing it, I won't stop you." As Yun Chujo said that, she took out the body of a windblade rabbit from her storage ring and threw it into one of the basins. The 6 servants looked at each other. Looks were a big deal, so it was better to be cautious. It wouldn't take more than one night to see the results in the morning. At this time, the sky had already started to darken. After Yun Chujo finished her instructions, she went into her bedroom. After she entered the bedroom, she first took out a basin of water and started to remove her makeup. The rash on her face was naturally not real. As she was covered by a veil and she was still on the roof at the time, Lu Shur and the others did not notice the flaw. After Yun Chujo washed her face, she lay on the bed and thought about the matter between Yi Xinwan and her daughter. Yi Xinwan and her daughter were different from Gu Shur and the others. They were in the name of the Fan family, so even the old master Yi did not dare to openly fall out with them. She could only think of ways to protect herself. Although there was an excuse for the rash, since they had already started to use poison, perhaps if they found out that her face was fine, they would use some sinister methods again. Yun Chujo rolled her eyes. She was really unhappy being so passive. She had to think of a way to take the initiative. It was obviously not feasible to fight them on the surface. Since it was not feasible on the surface, then she would use underhanded methods. Yun Chujo thought about it and started laughing strangely. When the servants in the servants' room heard Yun Chujia's strange laughter, they immediately trembled. What kind of terrifying idea was this little devil thinking about? Could it be that she wanted to torture them again? At this moment, their intestines were turning green with regret. Chapter 24:17. The 6 servants sat on the ground and looked at the rabbit in the basin. No one said anything. Firstly, they didn't know what to say. Could it be that they were publicly cursing their master? If anyone heard them, it would be a capital offense. Secondly, the ancestor in the room hadn't woken up yet. If they woke her up, she might teach them a lesson. After an hour, there was movement in the house. A few servants scrambled to ask, "Miss, do you need me to help you wash up?" As soon as the words left their mouths, their eyes locked together. They had clearly figured it out. Since they had already become the abandoned children of the original owner, they could only gain the favor of Miss to have a chance of survival. Therefore, in order to compete for the favor, the few of them began to compete in their hearts. Yun Chujo naturally would not let them serve her. No matter how heartless she did not feel that pleasing to the eye when she saw the maids with rashes all over their faces. After Yun Chujo left the house, she saw the rabbit in the medicinal soup bowl and smiled. This medicinal soup is not useless. Look, there's no need to remove the fur. It can be directly chopped and stewed into meat to eat. The corners of the 6 servants' eyes twitched violently. How dare you eat rabbit meat like this? Aren't you afraid of rotten intestines? Yun Chujo stretched lazily. Did you all see that? If it weren't for me, all of you would have become the same as this rabbit. Shouldn't all of you express your gratitude to me? For example, spirit stones, spirit tools, and the like. The more the merrier. The 6 servants were dumbfounded. Did this little ancestor mean to ask for benefits? Heavens, I've never heard of a master asking for something from a servant. Doesn't your conscience hurt? However, the 6 of them didn't dare to refuse. They gritted their teeth and gave Yun Chujo some spirit stones. Yun Chujo naturally didn't care about these spirit stones, but if some people didn't let her feel the pain, she wouldn't remember it. After Yun Chujo put away the spiritual stones, she glanced at the 6 people. If you want to live, listen to me in the future, or else you will be killed. The 6 people quickly knelt on the ground and swore to show their loyalty. No matter how nice you say it, it's useless. Let me see your actual actions. Now you will howl and say that all of our faces are disfigured. The more miserable the howl, the more loyal she is to me. Yun Chujo blinked her eyes and said. The 6 servants couldn't figure out Yun Chujia's intentions. One of the maids said, "Miss Cousin, but our faces haven't been disfigured at all. If someone comes in to check, what will we do then?" Yun Chujo curled the corners of her lips. She took out a few veils from her storage ring and handed them to everyone. I really want to throw myself into your arms and cry. Otherwise, it'll go out. Lu Shi was so scared that her face turned white. She shouted while running, "I'll go and find the doctor for you now. Don't come out, please don't come out. Aunt, don't go. Come and hug me. Aunt." Yun Chujo stood at the entrance of Xiaohua Garden and whined. Lu Shi didn't even dare to turn her head back. That little bastard might not have any good intentions at all. It would be terrible if her face was disfigured by her infection. Yun Chujo sighed. She said to the servants who were watching the scene from afar, "Sigh. Why don't you guys come over and talk to us? Although we are disfigured, aren't we all wearing veils on our faces? You won't be scared. Come here quickly." The servants ran away one by one. Even the spies of Lu Shi ran away, afraid that if they were one step slower, they would be caught by Yun Chujo and thrown into Xiaohua Garden. Yun Chujo curled the corners of her lips and returned to the courtyard. She said to the 6 servants, "See? Tell me, who else would suspect that we are not disfigured?" Chapter 24:19 Salt-free powder. The 6 servants were shaking their heads like rattledrums. After the little devil's torment, it was estimated that no one would come within a mile of Xiaohua Garden. "Miss Cousin, then what if Dr. Deng comes?" An old woman asked in a hoarse voice. Yes, she was howling too hard just now, so her voice was naturally hoarse. Yun Chujo looked at her as if she was looking at an idiot. "Dr. Deng has already helped us once, so naturally, he will help us a second time. That old man has already boarded our pirate ship. Can he still jump off the ship and commit suicide?" Almost at the same time, a thought flashed through the minds of the 6 servants. This little devil was too wicked. Dr. Deng was really unlucky. Yun Chujo rolled her eyes and gave a few more instructions to the 6 servants. The 6 servants looked like they had nothing left to live for and nodded their heads in frustration. At this moment there was a knock on the door. Dr. Deng had arrived. Yun Chujo asked an old woman to open the door and let Dr. Deng into the courtyard. Yun Chujo coughed and immediately, the 6 servants started crying again. "Old miracle doctor, save us. Old miracle doctor, my face is ruined. I won't be able to face anyone in the future. Old miracle doctor, will my face never be cured again?" The servants who were watching from afar heard the crying in Xiaohua Garden, and they confirmed that these people were really disfigured, and it was very serious. Dr. Deng was so shocked by the earth-shattering crying that he almost sat on the ground. He steadied his mind and said, "Remove the veil and let me take a look." Yun Chujo opened the isolation array and sighed. "Old miracle doctor, before you look at our faces, please take a look at this," Yun Chujo said as she asked the servant to bring out the medicinal soup bowl that was soaked with the Windblade rabbit's corpse. Dr. Deng was shocked. "Miss Yun, what does this mean?" "Old miracle doctor, this is the medicinal soup that you gave us. I think you should stop being a doctor in the future and change your profession to selling cooked food. With this exclusive secret recipe, shedding hair is simply too easy, isn't it?" Dr. Deng was so angry that his beard stood up. "Nonsense. How can the prescription that I gave you have corrosive effects? This is impossible. Old miracle doctor, if you don't believe me, I still have a few pots here. You can try putting your hand in," Yun Chujo said as she took out the remaining few pots of medicinal soup. Dr. Deng was so angry that his liver was trembling. Unless he was crazy, he would only put his hand in. Dr. Deng took out a special glove from his storage ring. After putting it on, he used a spoon to scoop out a spoonful of medicinal soup and smelled it. Dr. Deng looked puzzled. There was nothing wrong with the smell of the medicinal soup. He frowned and thought for a long time. Suddenly, he took out a herb with purple flowers from his storage ring. Dr. Deng threw the herb into the pot. Everyone was surprised to find that the small purple flowers on the herb had turned blue. Moreover, it was a cold blue color. Dr. Deng was shocked and angry. Someone added salt-free powder into it. Who is so vicious? Salt-free powder? Then, if you are disfigured by this medicinal soup, is there any hope for you to recover? Yun Chuzhou asked from the side. Dr. Deng shook his head. Salt-free powder is a forbidden medicine of a mysterious family in the far west region. This old man also happened to have an opportunity to save a member of their family. He once told me about this kind of salt-free powder. Salt-free powder is colorless and tasteless. Only this kind of purple blood forsythia can be tested. That person once told me that there is no antidote for salt-free powder. Moreover, the medicinal properties are very strong. Just a little bit of it can destroy a person's face. He did not dare to speak openly with Yi Xinhuan and openly fall out with her. Since you know your limits, I won't say anything more. If you can cure little Jiu, this old man will definitely not mistreat you. You may leave. Old Master Yi waved his hand at Dr. Deng. After Dr. Deng left, Old Master Yi slumped into his chair dejectedly. He felt a little guilty about what happened to Yilan back then. He did not expect that even though Lan's daughter was disfigured by Xian Wan, he was powerless to do anything about it. As the head of the Yi family, he was truly an extremely cowardly person. Fortunately, he had already sent Yuan Liang out. Otherwise, if he were to find out, he would definitely cause another huge ruckus. Although the Yi family looked like a blossoming flower on the outside, in reality, they could not withstand a single blow. They could no longer endure any more torment. Little ninth girl, I only hope that you can survive this calamity. Old Master Yi did not know that a certain Jiu who had already been disfigured was extremely at ease at this moment. This fellow had set up a hammock in the spirit peach forest. Lying on it, he was reading a script and eating fruits. He was extremely at ease. Chapter 24-24 was affected. What's going on? Why are there spirit bees in this courtyard? Although Fan Sushua wasn't stung by the spirit bees, there were a few drops of water on her face and a few spots on her clothes. Yi Bingying, who was beside her, was also affected and a few drops of water splashed on her face. Yi Bingying smiled indifferently. These spirit bees probably flew over from the back garden. I saw that their claws seemed to be holding on to leaves. It's probably the dew on the leaves. It's fine. Fan Sushua did not smell anything else. She also felt that it should be fog, so she complained a few times and used her hand to wipe off the water droplets on her face. Then she followed Yi Bingying to the back garden to admire the flowers. Yun Chuzhou was very satisfied when she saw the spirit bees returning from the triumphant return. After washing the remaining poison on the leaves with water, she directly destroyed the leaves and destroyed the traces. Yun Chuzhou kept her promise and gave some honey to the spirit bees. One by one, the spirit bees flew away in high spirits. Yun Chuzhou couldn't help but sigh. It was still easier to satisfy the spirit beasts. She just gave them some honey and sent them away. That night, Fan Sushua felt pain and itchiness on her face and hands. It became more and more serious and even began to fester. Fan Sushua cried out in fear. Sushua, what's wrong? Yi Xinhuan heard Fan Suksha's cry and quickly ran over. Fan Sushua pointed at her hands and face in fear. Mother, how can my hands and face be like this? Yi Xinhuan saw Fan Suksha's condition and almost collapsed to the ground. She saw that several places on Fan Suksha's fair face had begun to fester, and there were also several places on her hands that festered. Yi Xinhuan roared at those servants, "Are you all dead? Hurry up and find the doctor. Sushua, don't run. When the doctor comes, he will definitely be able to cure you. When the time comes, you just need to apply some flawless muscle pills." Hearing Yi Xinhuan's words, Fan Sushua calmed down a little. Yi Xinhuan asked again, "Sushua, how did you do this? Logically speaking, no one in the Yi family would poison you. Could it be that you encountered some poisonous grass in the back garden today?" Fan Sushua thought about it carefully. "Mother, I didn't encounter any poisonous grass in the back garden. Could it be that a servant poisoned me?" When Yi Xinhuan heard Fan Suksha's words, She immediately tied up all the servants serving in the guest house, leaving only her confidant. Beat them until they tell the truth. They have really rebelled against the heavens and actually dared to harm Sushua. They are courting death. Those servants naturally begged bitterly, saying that they had not poisoned Yun Yun at all. Yi Xinwan would not listen to their explanations, and had her confidants begin to torture her to extract a confession. Instantly the guest house was filled with screams. In the dead of the night the screams spread far and wide. Gu Shi and the others were alarmed. Lu Shi was the first to rush over. Yi Bingying was already asleep. When she heard the commotion she also rushed over. On the way to the guest house, she felt an itch on her face and hands. She used her hands to scratch them a few times, but the pain was unbearable. It was not easy for her to reach the guest house. When she reached the guest house, Yi Bingying saw Fan Suksha's miserable state. She immediately had an ominous premonition, and the pain on her face and hands became unbearable. She could not help but scream. Yi Xinwan was already very upset. When she heard Yi Bingying scream, she could not help but reprimand. "What are you shouting for? If you don't want to stay, get out." Although Lu Shi was displeased, she did not dare to say anything. She turned her head and was about to tell Yi Bingying to be quiet when she saw Yi Bingying's face and immediately screamed. Chapter 24-25. Could it be that there was no salt powder? Bingyi, your face. How did your face get destroyed? Lu Shi's voice was trembling. Yi Bingying looked down at her hand. It was already beginning to fester just like Fan Sushua. When she looked in the mirror again, 2 spots of fester appeared on her pretty face. With a scream she fainted. The guest house was once again thrown into chaos. Yi Xinwan had originally thought that it was the servants of the guest house who had caused Fan Suksha's death. Now that she saw that Yi Bingying's face was also disfigured, it seemed that it was not the servants of the guest house who had poisoned her. Then what was going on? Lu Shi was more meticulous than Yi Xinwan. After comforting Yi Bingying she asked, "Did you and Sushua touch any unknown spiritual herbs in the back garden? Or did you encounter anything unusual?" Yi Bingying and Fan Sushua shook their heads repeatedly. They only sat in the pavilion in the back garden and didn't do anything else. At this moment a maid on the ground said in a trembling voice, "First madam, when the 2 young ladies were in the guest house's courtyard, a group of spiritual bees once made some water droplets on their faces and bodies. Could it be the problem of those water droplets?" When Fan Sushua heard what she said, she immediately said in a flustered and exasperated manner, "There is indeed such a thing. Yi Bingying, it's all your fault. If you didn't have to call me to the back garden, would I have suffered such a calamity? At that time I still had to go back to the house to wash my face. You were the one who stopped me. Why are you so calm?" Although Yi Bingying wanted to curry favor with the Yi mother and daughter, her heart was in a mess now. She immediately retorted, "When did you say that you wanted to go back to the house to wash your face? Didn't you also guess that it was fog? Moreover, it might not have been caused by those few drops of water. If you want to blame it, I'll still blame you. Perhaps it was ants, whatever medicinal powder that accidentally got into some place that caused us to suffer." After Yi Bingying finished speaking, her face instantly revealed a terrified expression. Fan Sushua was stunned at first. Then she went to beat Yi Bingying like crazy. "You're talking nonsense. It's impossible. It's definitely impossible. It's just that matter of fog. It definitely won't be the salt-free powder. It definitely won't be." Yi Xinwan's head buzzed. At first it was painful and itchy, and then it began to fester. This was indeed the exact same symptoms as the salt-free powder's attack. She raised her head to look at the fester on Fan Suksha's face. Her legs were so weak that she couldn't even stand. Fan Suksha's appearance was exactly the same as the wound she had caused in the concubines. This was caused by the salt-free powder. The more Yi Xinwan thought about it, the more terrified she became. Her eyes rolled back and she fainted. Immediately the guest house was in a mess. Some went to pull the fight, and some went to wake Yi Xinwan up. There were also more than 10 servants who were tied up on the ground. After Old Master Yi received housekeeper Fuss report, he also rushed over. Although he did not show up when Yoon Chujo was in trouble, he could not come when something happened to Fan Sushua because he was afraid that the Fan family would vent their anger on the Yi family. After Old Master Yi arrived, the chaotic situation in the guest house was finally alleviated. Old Master Yi was also shocked when he saw the wounds on Fan Sushua and Yi Bingying's faces. He asked the two of them what happened. Yi Bingying told them what happened. Of course, she was not stupid enough to say that there was no salt powder or anything. She only said that they had wandered around the back garden and it became like this. Fan Sushua insisted that it was caused by those spirit bees. She blamed Yi Bingying for causing her to become like this. At this moment, Yi Xinwan also woke up. Although she felt that there was a high chance that Fan Sushua had been poisoned by salt-free, she still had a glimmer of hope in her heart. She hoped that after Dr. Deng examined her, he would come to another conclusion. I watched Granny Ding put it in. There wasn't any left. Yi Xinwan pushed Lu Shi away and stared at Kai Dai. What about the paper wrapped in the medicinal powder? Burn it, Kai Dai said while trembling. She knew that if the master was fine, she probably wouldn't survive. However, Yi Xinwan saw her trembling and decided that she was lying. She was guilty. Nonsense. Did you just throw away that paper? Speak, you lowly servant. Yi Xinwan kicked Kai Dai. Kai Dai spat out a mouthful of blood. Although she did not know what exactly happened, she knew that no matter what, she would not be able to escape death when she saw Fan Sushua and Yi Bingying's miserable state. She looked at Lu Shi for help. When she saw Lu Shi's eyes, her heart sank to the bottom. Lu Shi's eyes were very obvious, asking her to commit suicide to prove her innocence. Kai Dai felt bitter in her heart. If she had known it would be like this, she would have found a catalyst to not go on that mission. It was too late to say anything now. It seemed that good and evil would eventually be repaid. This was her retribution. When Kai Dai thought of this, she smiled bitterly. And I really burned that piece of paper. Since you don't believe me, then I can only prove my innocence by dying. Saying this, Kai Dai killed herself with the hairpin on her head. Why didn't you think of this when you secretly harmed little Nine? Yi Xinwan wanted to argue a bit, but now she had to beg old Master Yi, so she could only endure it. How about this, Xinwan? You secretly inform Mingchuan about this matter, and let him think of a way to help you find a famous doctor. I will also send people to keep an eye on Dr. Deng's side. Since he already has a clue about the antidote, perhaps he will really develop it, Old Master Yi said. Yi Xinwan nodded repeatedly. Old Master Yi was right. It would be good to secretly tell Mingchuan about this matter. He handled things steadily and would definitely have a way. Great-grandfather Yi sighed and left with a flick of his sleeve. The atmosphere in the room instantly froze. Yi Xinwan looked at Lu Shi viciously. Sister-in-law, if Sushua's face can be cured, I'll pretend that this matter never happened. If her face can't be cured, I won't be done with you. Not only you, the Lu family can forget about it. They thought about it carefully and realized that it was true. The Yi mother and daughter wanted to harm her, but the little demon was completely fine. However, they themselves suffered retribution. Didn't this prove that the little demon was really the favored child of Tian Dao? After the 6 servants figured this out, they no longer dared to betray Yoon Chujio. They already had a consensus in their hearts, and that was that whoever went against the little demon would be courting death. Yoon Chujio saw that there was nothing more to see over there, so she jumped off the roof. This guy glanced at the 6 servants and said with a smile that was not a smile, "Dog against dog, isn't it fun? Tell me, why do I suddenly think of that Windblade rabbit?" The 6 servants could not help but shiver. Before they could say anything, Yoon Chujio had already entered the house. The 6 of them looked at each other. Could it really be her? How was this possible? How did she do it? The six of them felt a chill on their backs. In their hearts, Yoon Chujio had turned from a little devil to a big devil. Now, even if someone were to put a knife to their necks, they would not dare to have any bad thoughts towards Yoon Chujio. So many days had passed. In addition to last night's incident, if he still didn't find out, he wouldn't be worthy of being the head of the Yi family. Thinking of this, Yoon Chujio said in a crisp voice, "So it's great-grandfather. Please wait a moment, I haven't woken up yet." The corner of housekeeper Fuss' eyes twitched violently outside the door. His attitude had changed so quickly. However, the only one who could say that she had not woken up so confidently was probably the weirdo Miss Cousin. After Yoon Chujio left the house, the six servants were already waiting at the door, trembling in fear. Yoon Chujio glanced at them and said in a low voice, "Don't worry, I'm here for you. Everything will be fine." The six servants were so touched that they almost cried. The sweet date that they gave after the slap was so sweet that it almost touched their hearts. So be sobbed, they were so touched. It turned out that the little devil had a kind side to her. She actually comforted them and even said that she was there for everything. It was simply too heartwarming, wasn't it? After Yoon Chujio removed the door latch, she suddenly took a dozen steps back and said faintly, "Great-grandfather, if there's anything you want to say, you should just stand there and say it. Little Joe is really afraid of infecting you. Sigh, I can't help it. The world is so realistic. Ever since I got sick, my Xiaohua garden has been so cold that I don't even dare to let the wind in. I'm afraid of infecting." Chapter 2433 was retribution. Whether it was the six servants or housekeeper Fu, they all had an expression of fucking shit. Can't you fucking pretend to be dead? Let's not talk about whether you're weak or not. Are you stupid? If you're stupid, there won't be any smart people in this world. Aren't you afraid of being struck by lightning if you say something that goes against your heart? The corners of old Master Yes' eyes twitched. He had yet to speak. He heard Yoon Chujio continue, "Great-grandfather, who is it that wants to harm me? Hurry up and tell me. Otherwise, I won't be able to eat or sleep well all day long. I'm going to be scared to death." Housekeeper Fu stole a glance at Yoon Chujio's rosy face. It seemed that the matter of lying and being struck by lightning was not very accurate. Otherwise, why didn't this person get struck by lightning for lying so many times? Old Master Yi did not hide anything and told her what he knew. Then, he stared at Yoon Chujio's expression and asked Little Jiu, "How do you think that Su Shui and Bingying girl were also struck by the salt-free powder?" The corners of Yoon Chujio's lips curled up. "Great-grandfather, have you heard of these few words? Good and evil will always be rewarded. The heavenly Tao is good for reincarnation. If you don't believe me, look up Who Will the Heavens Spare? They have suffered retribution. I am the favored child of the Tian Tao. They harmed me, so they will naturally suffer retribution." Old Master Yi was almost suffocated by the rebuke, but he could not say anything. He could only take a deep breath and ask, "You didn't do this?" Yoon Chujio's face was full of shock and innocence. "Great-grandfather, I have never left Xiaohua Garden. Besides, how could I possibly poison them with my weak kung fu? Could they have poisoned themselves and then framed me? This is too shameless." The people in the courtyard were speechless. They knew that there was no antidote to the salt-free powder, but Fan Sushua and Yi Bingying still poisoned themselves. Were their brains fried? Old Master Yi felt that he shouldn't have come today. It was purely because he was causing trouble for himself. This little girl's words could choke people to death. "Great-grandfather, I wonder what aunt and great-aunt guessed was the cause of the poisoning?" The reason why Yoon Chujio asked this was because she wanted to probe the bottom line. If they did not find the spirit bees, then she could do the same thing again in the future. If they found it, then forget it. They speculated that the paper wrapped in salt-free powder was blown into the backyard by the wind, and then the spirit bees treated the salt-free powder as pollen. After they got it on their claws, it was stained with dew. Then, it was an extremely coincidental coincidence that the dew got onto Bingying and Su Shui's faces. Chapter 2434. She was not sick just as old Master Yi was about to flare up. He heard Yun Chujo say, "Sai, I also know that you're in trouble. After all, you're the head of the Yi family. There are many things that you can't help. I understand all of them. Actually, I feel that Dr. Deng might be able to develop an antidote for salt-free powder. What if he can't develop it? Then I can only wear a veil and hide far away from him in the future. When that time comes, I'll enter a super sect like the primordial chaos sect. No matter how long the Fan family's hands are, they can't do anything to me." Even though old Master Yi's anger had dissipated a little, he still said unhappily, "Is the primordial chaos sect something that you can enter just because you want to? Even though your breakthrough speed isn't bad, the 6th level of the spiritual profound is still too weak. Bingying is at the 3rd level of the spiritual void tier, and she can only barely enter the outer sect. Everything depends on man. Who knows, she might accidentally enter. Besides, perhaps Dr. Deng will be able to develop an antidote for the salt-free powder. At that time, won't everyone be happy?" Yun Chujo said indifferently. Old Master Yi felt his head buzzing. He felt that if he continued to tangle with this little girl, he would definitely be angered to the point of vomiting blood. However, he could not find any fault with her. Yun Chujo obviously knew that old Master Yi was being scolded badly. However, she was never a steamed bun who swallowed her anger. Could it be that she was poisoned by someone and was still grateful? She was not sick. Great-grandfather Yi saw that he could not get anything out of her, so he could only say, "You stay in Xiaohua Garden obediently. I will send someone to guard the courtyard to prevent others from coming in, so that you won't be exposed." "Thank you, great-grandfather. Don't worry. A good person will have his blessings. Dr. Deng will definitely develop a salt-free antidote," Yun Chujo said with a smile. Great-grandfather Yi gave a perfunctory reply and left with housekeeper Fu. Not long after old Master Yi left, Dr. Deng arrived. Dr. Deng was about to speak when Yun Chujo said with a smile, "Old miracle doctor, let's go to the spirit peach forest over there and talk. It's quieter there." Dr. Deng understood that he was afraid that the walls would have ears, so he nodded and the two of them arrived at the spirit peach forest. Dr. Deng then said, "Miss Yun, do you know that Miss Fan and Miss Yi were both poisoned by salt-free powder?" Yun Chujo nodded. "I heard from great-grandfather. Old Master Yi also knows that you weren't disfigured?" Dr. Deng asked in surprise. Yun Chujo curled the corners of her lips. "Well, it was only a matter of time, so I told him." TSK, old miracle doctor, do you think this is karma? They wanted to poison me. I'm fine, but they were poisoned themselves. How interesting. Dr. Deng felt that Yun Chuji's words had a hidden meaning, but he couldn't figure out what it meant. He remembered the meaning and quickly took out a wooden box from his storage ring. "Miss Yun, the spirit herbs in this are too valuable. You should take it back. I'll take the other wooden box." Dr. Deng had also unintentionally opened the wooden box that Yun Chujo had given him last night. He opened one of the boxes and saw that there were a few earth-grade and mystic-grade spirit herbs in it, so he didn't pay too much attention to it. But when he opened the other box, he was stunned. Inside was actually a low-grade heaven-grade purple dragon vine. This was too valuable. That was why Dr. Deng had rushed over so early in the morning. Seeing that Dr. Deng insisted on returning it, Yun Chujo didn't say much. She saw that the wooden box was kept. After all, the formula for the salt-free powder was much more valuable than this spirit herb. Chapter 2435 was not a little white rabbit at all, old miracle doctor. I wonder if there are any clues about the antidote to the salt-free powder? Yun Chujo sat on the stone bench and asked with a smile. Dr. Deng sighed. How could it be so easy? What you said the other day inspired me. I also think that the purple blood forsythia might really be the antidote to the salt-free powder. But I have tried many times and failed without exception. It seems that the salt-free powder really is unsolvable. Old miracle doctor, that may not be the case. I do have an idea that might be helpful to you. Yun Chujo blinked her eyes and said mysteriously, Oh, what idea? Deng Zhongting suddenly stood up from the stool. He was thinking about the antidote to the salt-free powder during the day and night. He was almost possessed by the devil. Don't get excited yet. If you think that my idea will be helpful to you, you have to agree to one condition of mine. What condition? That is, after you successfully develop the antidote, you have to find a reason to scam the Yi and Fan families for a sum of at least 100 million high-grade spirit stones. At that time we will split it 50-50. However, don't worry, you just have to do as I say. The Fan and Yi families will not find trouble with you in the future. Dr. Deng's face was full of confusion. He felt that his brain was not enough. What did he mean? She wanted him to scam the Yi family and Fan family for 1 to 100 million high-grade spirit stones? The Yi family and Fan family were not mentally ill. Why would they let him scam so many spirit stones? Moreover, why did she have to give half of it to her? Old miracle doctor, my idea will definitely help you develop the antidote for the salt-free powder. Are you going to do this deal or not? If you can't develop the antidote for the salt-free powder, Yi Xinwan will not let it go. You have to think carefully. Yun Chujo said with a smile. Dr. Deng was so angry that he was twitching. At this moment he finally understood that the person in front of him was not some weak little white rabbit. This was a fucking fox. And it was the same kind of fox with 9 tails behind it. Dr. Deng really wanted to turn around and leave, but his heart was scratched by Yun Chujia's thoughts. He struggled in his heart for a long time, then he gritted his teeth and said, think about the reason for scamming money. You have to guarantee the safety of me and the medicine hall. Yun Chujo snapped her fingers. Deal. Old miracle doctor, do you feel that you have been deceived by me? Sigh. I was forced by the situation. You have seen it yourself. Even my biological aunt and my biological aunt wanted to ruin my appearance. Can I not be careful? Please forgive me if I have offended you in any way. Chapter 2437. She felt that she was very shameless. Di Biming touched her hair. It's alright, it's just a small injury. Yun Chujo glared at him. Stop talking nonsense, lie on the bed for me. Di Biming's ears turned red. He mumbled, little Joe, although my body is fine. But Guai Chao, seeing this, Yun Chujo directly pushed Di Biming onto the bed, and then started to undress him. Di Biming was conflicted. On one hand, he felt that it was not a good time. After all, Yun Chujo had not come to Kueishui yet. On the other hand, he was looking forward to it. Even if they could not really have sex, cough cough. It was good to have a good time. When Di Biming's mind was filled with thoughts, he heard Yun Chujo scolding him with a sobbing voice. Are you a pig? Such a big wound. Don't you know how to apply medicine to bandage it? After Yun Chujo removed Di Biming's clothes, she saw that his chest was filled with wounds of all sizes. One of them was more than 3 inches long and was oozing blood. Only then did Di Biming realize that his thoughts were wrong. He couldn't help but say awkwardly, it's nothing. I'm already used to it. This is considered light. When Yun Chujo heard Di Biming's words, she immediately cried even harder. Used to it? This was considered light? One could imagine how dangerous Di Biming was usually. Only then did Di Biming realize that he had let the cat out of the bag. He did not know how to comfort people. He just kept saying, it's okay. My constitution is special. I will recover very quickly. Don't worry. Yun Chujo glared at him. She took out a pill to stop the bleeding and fed him 2 pills. She sprinkled them on the wound and helped him bandage it. This guy deliberately tied a bow on the white cloth. The corner of Di Biming's eyes twitched, but he didn't say anything. Anyway, he was still wearing clothes outside so no one could see him. Prince Charming, I see that your wounds are not caused by spiritual attacks. It seems that there are claws of demonic beasts. Your enemies are not only humans but also demonic beasts? Yun Chujo asked in confusion. Little Joe, if the enemy I'm facing is not too strong, how could I bear to let you stay here alone? If I bring you with me, I really can't protect your safety. Di Biming said seriously. Although he knew that Yun Chujo was an independent girl, He was afraid that she would hold a grudge against him. Yun Chujo smiled. Prince Charming, I understand. Isn't there a saying? If the two of us were in love for a long time, we wouldn't be together day and night. The reason why we are separated now is to be together for a better and longer time. Besides, distance makes the heart grow fonder. The feeling of us having an affair is quite exciting. When Di Biming heard the first few sentences, his face was full of relief. Chapter 2438. Conscience hurts a little. Di Biming did not reprimand her. Instead he said, it's okay to take a look occasionally. It's right to combine work and rest. Yun Chujia's eyes were wide open. Although Di Biming did not object to her reading the script, he did not encourage her to do so. This time he actually said that. Could it be that he had lost too much blood and was confused? Di Biming could not help but laugh when he saw Yun Chujia's expression. He stroked her hair and said, I'm afraid that your cultivation is too hard. It's good to relax once in a while. Yun Chujo felt a little pain in her conscience. Although she was still working hard now, this fellow had never been a good student. Moreover, although her physique was a little unlucky, she had to admit that her cultivation was much easier than others. She only needed to condense the thunder spiritual force that the three foodies spat out. A certain Jiao, who was feeling guilty, took the initiative to change the topic. Oh right, Prince Charming, where is the little madman? Did he come back with you? No, he stayed there to keep an eye on the other party's movements. Let him train for a period of time and become less useless. Then let him come back to protect you. Prince Charming, I didn't dare to tell you in the voice transmission talisman. I'm rich. Yun Chujo thought of the matter of the Fan family's mine and said proudly to Di Biming. Di Biming couldn't help but laugh. What are you rich in? Last time, after I left the heavenly pit of the divine axe, I didn't expect to be in the Fan family's territory. Yun Chujo told Di Biming everything that happened. Then she took out a small piece of spirit stone for Di Biming to see. Although Di Biming felt that Yun Chujia's action was a bit risky, but he felt that she had considered it carefully, so he didn't scold Yun Chujio and took the spirit stone to have a look. The quality of this spirit stone mine is not bad. After processing, it should be a high-grade spirit stone. However, you are not short of money anyway. Try not to let everyone process it so that you don't give yourself away, Di Biming instructed. I know about this, but you don't even know about it. I feel that I have done it secretly. I didn't expect that old man Huang from Tianluo City would actually suspect me. However, I beat around the bush and made him confused. Yun Chujo told him about Mayor Huang again, then said, Prince Charming, I think that old man Huang is not simple. How could an ordinary city lord make the two principals of Xingqian Academy and Huastone Academy listen to him? Di Biming nodded. Although I haven't found any malice toward you for the time being, it's better for you to stay away from him. It's fine. If he wants to harm me, I still have the help of the heavenly Dao Cliff. If they punch me, I will chop off their hands. If they kick me, I will chop off their legs. Di Biming snorted coldly. You're quite impressive. Aren't you still trapped in Xiaohua Garden? Forget it. Since you have plans, well, do as you say. If you can't handle it yourself, I'll help you take care of them. Although the Fan family is a bit troublesome, if we find the right opportunity, we might be able to completely eradicate the Fan family. Yun Chujo nodded. The Fan family hasn't crossed my bottom line yet. Moreover, I've already collected half of the spirit stone mine in advance as compensation. It's not a big deal to let them run around for a few days. Oh right, little Joe. You said that you met a spirit master Yen when you left the Fan family's mine? Di Biming suddenly asked. Yes, he's Ziheng's grandfather. Is there a problem? Yun Chujo asked nervously. Could it be that she had done something wrong? Di Biming smiled. I believe in your judgment. If you think it's harmless, there's naturally no problem. My seal hasn't been completely broken yet. but I have a vague feeling that I'll need a spirit master in the future. You helped me find two at once. By then I won't have to look around for people anymore. Chapter 2440 was taught well by me. A certain Joe heard Di Biming's words and immediately became extremely smug. That's right, I never do meaningless things. I'm called a prophet. Di Biming looked at Yun Chujia's smug look and only curled his lips, not saying a word. Yun Chujio looked at the bow tie on Di Biming's chest and could not help but smile. Humph, this dumb slut would not be so obedient in the past. It was better that I taught her well. The more he thought about it, the more he felt a sense of accomplishment. He used Di Biming's arm as a pillow and lay down on his side with a smile. Prince Charming, since there's a little lunatic watching over there, you should stay for a few more days this time. Anyway, few people come to my Xiaohua garden. Those servants have been taken care of by me, so I won't say anything. And Feng's spiritual power is too low. If there's an emergency, he might not be able to handle it. Moreover, I've been going back and forth for many days. Yun Chujio pouted, and her small face instantly scrunched up. She was obviously very disappointed. However, it's not a big deal to stay for one more day. I'll leave in the morning the day after tomorrow. After saying that, Di Biming turned around and looked at Yun Chujio, his eyes full of ridicule. Only then did Yun Chujio react. It turned out that Di Biming had said those words on purpose. She was so angry that she bit Di Biming's shoulder. Di Biming grimaced in pain, but his heart was filled with sweetness. If he could be together with little Joe, he would be happy even if he was bitten by her every day. The two of them seemed to have endless words to say. Cough cough. In fact, it was a certain Joe who kept boasting. A certain Joe would occasionally chime in. The two of them did not sleep for a night. Of course, a certain Joe went out halfway and gave each of the 6 servants a sleeping pill. In this way, the 6 servants would be lucky if they could wake up on the 3rd morning, let alone the next morning. A certain Joe said with conviction, Aya, you guys have been on tenterhooks these past few days. You must not have rested well. This is a good opportunity to have a good sleep. If those servants heard what Yun Chujio said, they would probably faint from anger without her having to feed them medicine. The next morning, Yun Chujio felt a little sleepy after her excitement. She kept yawning. Di Biming said with heartache, you sleep for a while. I'll keep an eye on the outside. If anyone comes, I'll call you. Yun Chujio was really sleepy, so she lay on the bed and fell asleep. Di Biming was meditating in the outer room, while keeping an eye on the situation outside. After about 2 hours, they heard a dispute outside. Miss Fan, we are guarding Xiaohua Garden under the orders of the old master. Please forgive us. Get lost. All of you get lost. Or I will kill you. A sharp female voice shouted. Di Biming frowned slightly. He took out an isolation disc from his storage ring and placed it in the bedroom before continuing to meditate. The noise outside grew louder and louder. The courtyard door was violently pushed open by someone. Someone shouted sharply, Yun Chujio, you little bitch, get out here. It's all your fault, otherwise how would I be disfigured? The person who came was Fan Sushua. Ever since she found out that she had been poisoned by the salt-free powder and cried a few times, she had vented her anger on Yi Bingying and Yun Chujio. However, Yi Bingying had the protection of the Lu Shi, so she couldn't do anything at the moment, so she came to Yun Chujio to vent her anger. The guards of the Yi family didn't dare to attack Fan Sushua. And if they really did, they wouldn't be able to defeat the guards brought by Fan Sushua. Therefore, they let Fan Sushua break into Xiaohua Garden. Chapter 2441. Chongguan was furious for the pretty boy. A little commander of the Yi family's guards hurriedly sent a message to Old Master Yi when he saw the situation. But Old Master Yi just had to go out on an errand. Old Master Yi could only order that little commander to stop Fan Sushua from hurting Yun Chujio. If he could not stop her, he had to try his best to stall for time. He had to rush back as soon as possible. That little commander was about to cry. Stop? Stall for time? How could he stop her? How could he stall for time? How could he really dare to touch that Miss Fan? Moreover, that Miss Fan did not come alone this time. Not only did she bring a maid, but she also brought a dozen guards with her. The spirit energy of the guards of the Fan family was much higher than theirs. How could they stop her? The little commander did not dare to disobey. He chased after her into Xiaohua Garden and said in fear and trepidation, "Miss Fan, old master will be back soon. You should go back to the guest house." Fan Sushua did not see Yun Chujio. She was angry and kicked the little commander. The little commander did not dare to dodge and was kicked. He wanted to persuade her again, but the Fan family guards looked at him threateningly. He could only keep quiet. He hoped that old Master Yu would come back quickly. Otherwise, looking at the situation, his cousin would not be able to keep her life. Fan Sushua saw that Yun Chujio had not come out yet after such a big commotion. She shouted sharply, "Yun Chujio, get out here, or I will have someone burn down this courtyard." In the room, Di Biming suddenly opened his eyes. His eyes were filled with a cold light. He got up and was about to leave when Yun Chujio came out from the bedroom, yawning. Yun Chujio was a cultivator. In fact, she had already woken up. She just laid on the bed for a while longer. Yun Chujio gave Di Biming a look, indicating that she should deal with it herself. Di Biming snorted coldly and sat down again. Yun Chujio put on her veil and pushed the door open. She leaned against the door and glanced at the chaotic situation in the courtyard before her gaze landed on Fan Sushua. Fan Sushua also wore a veil on her face. Her right hand was wrapped in a thick white cloth while her left hand was fine. When the crowd saw someone coming out of the house, they looked at the young lady leaning against the door. The young girl's body was plated with a layer of gold. Although she was just leaning lazily against the door, there was an indescribable beauty to her. Although they could not see her appearance, they felt that she was just like this. For a moment, the courtyard fell into a strange silence. Even Fan Sushua was stunned. After Fan Sushua reacted, she could not help but curse sharply, "Little bitch. You're finally willing to come out. If it wasn't for you, would I have been disfigured? Get your ass over here." "Cousin Sushua, do you have a bad memory? My face is like this, but it was your good idea. As for your face being disfigured, that's karma. What does it have to do with me? Besides, I don't know how to get out. Why don't you give me a demonstration?" Normally, Yun Chujio wasn't willing to have a face-to-face fight with Fan Sushua, but it wasn't easy for her to reunite with the gigolo for 2 days, and this Fan Sushua shamelessly came to disturb her, so how could a certain Joe let it go? Others would be angry at the crown for the beauty. A certain Joe would be angry at the crown for the gigolo. Fan Sushua thought that Yun Chujio would be submissive and beg for mercy. She did not expect to be questioned and ridiculed. She immediately said to the maids behind her, "Tie this bastard up and cut off her tongue for me." The 2 maids behind Fan Sushua looked at Yun Chujio with disdain. They took a few steps forward and were about to catch Yun Chujio. At this moment, the bodies of the 2 handmaidens flew out without warning and crashed heavily onto the wall of the courtyard. They immediately vomited blood and fainted. Chapter 2442 was sent flying. Everyone in the courtyard was stunned. They clearly saw that Yun Chujio did not move at all. Furthermore, the 2 handmaidens were at least 6 to 7 feet away from Yun Chujio. How did they fly out? Yun Chujio was also stunned. Then, she immediately understood that it was probably Di Biming's help. This fellow's heart was filled with evil thoughts. He hugged his shoulders and snorted coldly, "Did you see that? I am the favored child of Tian Dao. You want to hit me? You are going against Tian Dao." Those 2 just suffered retribution. Although Fan Sushua was a little shocked, she felt that Yun Chujio must have done something in the dark. Hence, she turned around and pointed at the 2 guards, "Capture her for me." The 2 guards shared the same thoughts as Fan Sushua. They also felt that Yun Chujio's sneak attack was successful because the maid was not on guard. The 2 guards walked toward Yun Chujio with guarded expressions. Yun Chujio said with disdain, "You really don't turn back until you hit the wall. Come on, I don't even hide. Let's see if you can get close to me." Humans have to know their own limits. You want to fight with Tian Dao? You really overestimate yourself. The 2 guards walked a few steps and did not find anything unusual. The 2 of them were even more certain that it was Yun Chujio's little trick. so their hearts relaxed a little. At this moment, the two of them felt a huge force coming at them, and their bodies could not help but fly out. Their bodies also crashed into the wall of the courtyard, and a part of the wall collapsed. The two of them immediately vomited blood and passed out. The people in the courtyard could not help but take a few steps back. If the two maids were a coincidence, then the two guards just now were all staring at them. Yun Chujo did not even move her hand. It was impossible that she did it. Could it really be the punishment of Tian Dao? Fan Sushua was shocked, angry, and a little scared. It was impossible. How could that little bitch really be Tian Dao's favorite? A bunch of trash. This is all a little trick of that little bitch. All of you attack together. Fan Sushua said to the guards of the Fan family behind her angrily. Although the guards of the Fan family did not want to go forward, they did not dare to disobey and could only reluctantly move forward. Fan Sushua saw that the guards were moving slowly and scolded angrily. If you don't hurry up, I will kill all of you. Yun Chujo curled the corner of her mouth. Tisk. I really sympathize with you guards. How could you have such a master? Why don't you acknowledge me as your master? I will definitely not let you do stupid things that will send you to your death. Fan Sushua glared at Yun Chujo viciously. Little bitch, don't be so smug. Later, not only will I cut off your tongue, I will also reward you to these servants so that they... Before Fan Sushua could finish her words, her entire body flew out. Following that, the guards of the Fan family also flew out one by one. Coincidentally, they all landed on Fan Suksha's body. The guards of the Fan family struggled to get up, only to see that Fan Sushua had long fainted. Moreover, whether it was her arm, leg, or even her ribs, they were all broken. The guards of the Fan family spat out blood as they created a soft cushion, carrying Fan Sushua and running away. They now completely believed that they had really suffered retribution. Because Yun Chujo was only a little girl at the 6th level of the Lingxian realm. Even if she had some small tricks, it was impossible for her to send them flying at the same time. Chapter 2443 was all about the fence-sitters. The guards of the Yi family were all dumbfounded by what they saw. Oh God, it seemed that this young cousin was indeed the favorite of Tian Dao. This was too terrifying. Yun Chujo glanced at the guards of the Yi family and said indifferently, Don't you have anything to say to me? Did my great-grandfather send you to my courtyard to watch a show? The guards of the Yi family were stunned at first. Then they knelt on the ground with a plop. The young commander said in fear, Miss Cousin, this subordinate knows his mistake. But this subordinate really doesn't dare to stop Miss Fan too much. Moreover, we can't beat those guards of the Fan family. Yun Chujo snorted coldly. What if the person living in this courtyard is my great-grandfather? Because you don't dare to stop him, and because you can't beat the guards of the Fan family, do you want to give way? Cold sweat broke out on the foreheads of the little commander and those guards. They had no way to answer. If the person in the courtyard was Old Master Yi, they would fight to the death to stop Fan Sushua. After all, Old Master Yi was their master. Although this young Miss Cousin could be considered a master, there were naturally close and distant relatives. Moreover, in their subconscious, they also felt that Fan Sushua was much more important than Yun Chujo. Even Old Master didn't dare to offend the Fan family, let alone them. However, could these words be said? Naturally, they could not be said. So the guards of the Yi family just knelt on the ground and did not say a word. Yun Chujo glanced at them. For some reason, those guards felt their hearts tremble, and they were so guilty that they did not dare to raise their heads. Yun Chujo chuckled and then her tone became cold. Even if you don't say it, I know what you are thinking. Aren't you afraid of the Fan family behind Fan Sushua? However, you're carrying out the Yi family's livelihood. You're the Yi family's guards. Protecting Xiaohua Garden was my great-grandfather's order. Your mission is to carry out the orders to the letter. As for the disputes behind it, what does it have to do with you? You think that you've made the right choice. You've violated the greatest taboo of being a guard. So is this betraying your master. Do you think that there's any use for guards like you to stay in the Yi family? Those guards were covered in cold sweat. They knew that if Yun Chujo told Old Master Yi what she said, there was an 80 to 90% chance that they would not be able to keep their jobs. just as they were panicking and feeling uneasy. Yoon Chujo continued to say indifferently, "I'm not a ruthless person either. I'll give you another chance. In a while, the Fan family will definitely come again. If you can't stop them from leaving Xiaohua Garden, you won't have any value left in the Yi family." After saying that, Yoon Chujo didn't care about the reaction of the Yi family's guards. She directly opened the door and entered the house. The guards looked at each other and finally looked at the young commander. "Boss, what should we do?" The young commander gritted his teeth. "The old master should be back soon. We just need to hold on for a little longer. Besides, Miss Fan's injuries are so serious. Aunt will probably treat her first. She might not come to seek revenge." The rest of the people thought that what he said made sense, so the guards simply made a hole in the wall and continued to stand guard outside Xiaohua Garden. Yoon Chujo saw the behavior of the guards through the crack in the door, and could not help but twitch her lips. If it were not for the fact that her 10 guards were arranged to stay in the outer residence, they would not have been needed at all. They were all fence-sitters who acted according to the wind. Chapter 2444. Yoon Chujo turned around, threw herself into Di Biming's arms and said, "Prince Charming, we are a perfect match. I was showing off outside and you were supporting me in the house. It felt so good." Di Biming's gloomy face softened after hearing Yoon Chujio's words. "If you didn't say not to touch the Fan family, I would have killed those useless people just now. You're not afraid of settling scores. Besides, I think that Fan Suksha's bones are more than half broken. I'm afraid that she won't be able to get out of bed for another half a year." Yoon Chujo gloated. Di Biming glanced at her. "Aren't you afraid that your aunt will look for you to settle scores?" "Settle scores? They've suffered retribution. Is it my fault?" Yoon Chujo said fearlessly. She didn't even make a move. Those people could all testify. Besides, if it really didn't work out, she could still use the antidote of the salt-free powder to threaten them. If it weren't for the Fan family behind them, she could have played them 10,000 times over. "Do you think your aunt will send someone to settle the score with you? Shouldn't she treat her daughter first?" Di Biming asked in confusion. Although Fan Sushua looks quite miserable, it's only superficial wounds and there's no danger to her life. Most importantly, that aunt of mine is now blaming everything on me. I'm afraid she can't help it. If she doesn't come, it's her advantage. If she comes, I'll let her taste the taste of retribution. Male God, with you here my heart is much more stable. Even if the sky collapses, I'm not afraid." Yoon Chujo said with starry eyes. Di Biming instantly felt joy and satisfaction overflowing in his heart. He felt that nothing could make him feel so satisfied and proud like Yoon Chujio's words. The two of them looked at each other affectionately, and could not help but kiss each other again. After a while, a certain Jiu was nestled in Di Biming's arms. She raised her head and looked at Di Biming affectionately. Di Biming's heart was thumping violently. Was little Jiu going to confess to him again? Di Biming felt a little thirsty and asked in a hoarse voice, "Little Jiu, do you have something to say to me?" Yoon Chujo nodded and said softly, "Should we eat breakfast? I'm hungry." Di Biming. The pink bubble in a certain someone's mind suddenly burst into bubbles and said with a stiff face, "Then let's eat breakfast." The two of them had just eaten breakfast when the outside of the courtyard became noisy again. Yoon Chujo showed a proud expression. "Prince Charming, how is it? I told you that my aunt would come to settle the score with me, right? TSK, it's already good enough that I didn't disfigure her last time. This time she actually delivered herself to my doorstep. If I don't torture her, it'll be letting down my conscience." Di Biming raised his eyebrows indifferently. In his eyes, these scum were really too weak. If it wasn't for the Fan family's deep foundation, it wouldn't be a big problem for him to destroy the Fan family even if he wanted to. However, when he saw how eager Yoon Chujo was to give it a try, he felt that it would be good to cooperate with her acting and let her show off. When he thought of the way Yoon Chujo blinked her starry eyes and worshipped him, he felt an itch in his heart. Hence he lowered his head and kissed the smug a certain Jiu once again. A certain Jiu was kissed until the sky and earth turned dark again. When Di Biming released her, He could hear the sounds of fighting coming from outside the courtyard. Occasionally, there were also the screams of the Yi family's guards. A certain Zhou looked at the satisfied certain lord and said faintly, "Sigh, as expected, beauty ruins things." Chapter 24:45. She was beautiful. And she was perverted. Di Biming's ears were sharp. A certain Zhou glanced at him without saying a word. Yun Chuzhou cursed in her heart. Bah! She had kissed him, touched him and touched him. Why was she pretending to be innocent? If she didn't know better, she would have thought that she had forcefully kissed him. Sigh, alright. It seemed that the word beautiful should be separated. Her gigolo was beautiful and she was perverted. Gaga. Just as Yun Chuzhou was indulging in her wild thoughts, she heard the sounds of fighting outside become even more intense. Her eyes deepened. Prince Charming, don't make my aunt too serious later. If she is not well for a while, I'm afraid she will stay in the Yi family and won't leave. After Yun Chuzhou finished speaking, she pushed the door open and walked out. This guy stood at the door and shouted clearly, "Stop! Let my aunt and the others come in." When the guards of the Yi family heard Yun Chuzhou's words, they felt as if they had heard the sound of nature. They had no strength to resist for a long time. Yi Xinhuan brought the guards of the Fan family into the courtyard with an imposing manner. When she saw Yun Chuzhou, who was casually leaning against the door, the hatred in her eyes was as if it was poisoned. "Little bitch, did you beat Sushua up like that? Get over here." "Aunt, you can't just say that. I didn't touch a single finger of cousin Sushua. If you don't believe me, you can ask the maids and guards. I didn't move a single inch from the beginning to the end," Yun Chuzhou said slowly. "Nonsense. You little bitch, don't think that you can fool me just because you know some tricks. Even if you didn't do it, it was you who did it. Get your ass over here. Or else I'll tear down your Xiaohua garden." Although Yi Xinwen's words were vicious, she was still a little worried about the so-called retribution, so she planned to force Yun Chuzhou to surrender herself. "Aunt, don't blame me for not reminding you. Every blade of grass and tree here used to belong to my mother, and now they're all mine. If anyone dares to touch them, I'll make them suffer retribution." Yun Chuzhou still looked casual, but her tone was cold. Some people couldn't help but shiver. "Humph! You're playing tricks. Smash it. Destroy this broken courtyard." Yi Xinhuan ordered the guards of the Fan family behind her. The guards of the Yi family immediately looked at Yun Chuzhou. Should they stop her or not? They saw Yun Chuzhou's indifferent expression and didn't know what she meant. They thought about it and thought that she was a powerful person. It was better to stop her. Therefore, the Yi family guards stopped the Fan family guards one after another. Of course, they did not dare to be too forceful and only tried to persuade them nicely. "Everyone calm down. Yi Xinhuan saw the situation and said ferociously, "A bunch of traitors. Give them a good beating and let them know the consequences of being loyal to this little bitch." The Fan family's guards received the order and immediately started to fight with the Yi family's guards. Yun Chuzhou squinted her eyes and looked. Although the Yi family's guards were more numerous than the Fan family's, their strength was indeed inferior by a large margin. They definitely could not beat them. Yun Chuzhou did not shout out to stop them, nor did she ask Di Biming to make a move. This guy was very evil. Those guards of the Yi family were all very crafty. It would be good to use the Fan family to teach them a lesson. Moreover, no matter who was beaten up, there would be complaints. Planting a seed of hatred towards the Fan family in their hearts would only bring benefits. It was only until the guards of the Yi family were basically unable to retaliate that this guy shouted, "Stop fighting. If you continue to fight, people will die. Don't you just want me to surrender?" "I agree." Yi Xinhuan snorted coldly, and the guards of the Fan family finally stopped. The guards of the Yi family were all beaten into a sorry state. They supported each other as they stood up. One could imagine the resentment they felt towards Yi Xinhuan. On the contrary, their impression of Yun Chuzhou was much better. Look at her cousins, young miss. In order not to let them lose their lives, she was willing to surrender herself. Such a master was really too rare. Yi Xinhuan looked at Yun Chuzhou with disdain. At least you're sensible. You two go over and tie her up for me. The two guards of the Fan family walked towards Yun Chuzhou in a carefree manner. Although they had heard about what had happened previously, they felt that it was definitely a trick played by Yun Chuzhou. They did not put Yun Chuzhou in their eyes at all. The two guards walked closer and closer, but nothing happened. The expressions on their faces became even more savage. As long as they caught this Yun Chuzhou, the madam would definitely reward them generously. Just as the two guards were dreaming, a huge force attacked them. Their bodies flew out uncontrollably, knocking down the wall that the guards of the Yi family had just repaired. They spat out blood and passed out. Yi Xinhuan and the guards of the Fan family could not help but take a few steps back, feeling a sense of panic in their hearts. On the other hand, the guards of the Yi family suddenly felt elated. Even the wounds on their bodies did not seem to hurt anymore. They wished that the remaining guards of the Fan family and Yi Xinhuan would be sent flying. Yi Xinhuan had the thought of retreating because she had seen with her own eyes that Yun Chuzhou did not move at all. Moreover, the two guards were still quite a distance away from her. How could they be sent flying? Could it really be retribution? However, when she thought of Fan Sushua who was beaten to a pulp, her resentment gained the upper hand. She said to the guards behind her, "All of you attack at the same time. Regardless of whether you live or die, use your spiritual power to attack directly." Yi Xinhuan's idea was very simple. If she used the spiritual power attack, she did not need to get too close to Yun Chuzhou. Even if Yun Chuzhou had some tricks up her sleeve, she would not be able to use them. "Aunt Madam, you can't do this. The old master will be back soon." The young commander of the Yi family's guards immediately tried to dissuade her. The maid next to Yi Xinhuan slapped him in the face. "Get lost. How can you have the right to speak when our madam is doing things?" That little commander was slapped by a maid, so he naturally could not hold back his face. In his fury, he said to the Yi family's guard behind him, "Brothers, if the young miss dies, we won't be able to live either. Let's fight it out with them." Instantly, the Yi family's guard and the Fan family's guard once again fought. Yun Chuzhou frowned. What kind of madness were these guards of the Yi family? Initially, she had planned to let Di Baiming wipe out the guards of the Fan family. But now they were in a scuffle and there was no way to attack. Sigh. There was really no way. She did not do anything. How did these people turn from fence-sitters to little white Yang? Could it be that the glory of her humanity had awakened their conscience? Yi Xinhuan looked at Yun Chuzhou viciously. "Little bitch, you're just like that bitch mother of yours. You're used to flirting." Before Yi Xinhuan could finish her words, she flew out like a kite with a broken string. After a long while she heard a thump. Yun Chuzhou touched her chin. That old bitch was most likely sent flying into the pond in front of her by that pretty boy. Seeing that their master was sent flying, the guards of the Fan family did not care about the guards of the Yi family anymore. They all jumped out of Xiaohua Garden to save Yi Xinhuan. The guards of the Yi family looked at each other and did not know what to do. Yun Chuzhou took out a bottle of hemostatic pills from her storage ring and threw it to the little commander. "Treat your injuries first. I think they will be back soon." The little commander opened the bottle cap and saw that although the grade of the pills inside was not high, they were actually transcendent grade pills. He could not help but feel shocked and touched. After thanking her, he distributed the pills to everyone. Not long after, Yi Xinhuan's vicious curses were indeed heard from afar. Yun Chuzhou could not help but shake her head. Some people just did not learn their lesson. Anyone with a brain would not come and humiliate themselves. This Yi Xinhuan was really a self-righteous idiot. No wonder Yilan could easily set her and that Fan Jichuan up back then. The value of such an idiot was to be used by others. This time Yi Xinhuan was probably also used by Lu Shi. However, the opponent they met was her. It was destined that their ending would be to steal the chicken but end up losing the rice. Sure enough, Yi Xinhuan walked in with people cursing and swearing. Although her clothes had been dried by her spiritual power, her meticulously combed hair was wet into a ball, looking extremely comical. Little bitch. I don't care what tricks you used. If you don't obey obediently today, I'll set Xiaohua Garden on fire. As Yi Xinhuan said this, she got her subordinates to prepare to set the place on fire. Yun Chuzhou thought of a saying, a tree wants to be quiet, but the wind doesn't stop. Sometimes it's not enough for you to calm things down. Take Yi Xinhuan and her daughter for example. She didn't provoke them, but they came to provoke her again and again. Forget it. Yi Xinhuan already saw her as a thorn in her side, so there was nothing to be afraid of. Yun Chuzhou thought of this and smiled lightly. She slowly walked towards Yi Xinhuan. Aunt, didn't you want to teach me a lesson? I'm here. When the guards of the Fan family saw Yun Chuzhou walking over, they could not help but step back. Yi Xinhuan cursed angrily, it's just a little bitch. If any of you dare to step back, I'll kill him. You guys go up and capture her. Although the guards were afraid, they didn't dare to disobey her. They rushed towards Yun Chuzhou and flew out one after another. Yi Xinhuan was really a little timid this time. She said with a stern face but a weak heart, little bitch, you don't come over. Auntie, you're the one who asked me to come over, and you're the one who didn't want me to come over. With your inconsistency, I don't know what to do. Why don't you come over? Yi Xinhuan wasn't willing to go over. She turned around and wanted to run, but suddenly a huge pressure came over, and she couldn't move at all. She watched Yun Chuzhou walk in front of her. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Sword of Destiny YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.